Hey guys, thank you for joining our session today. Today we're really focusing in on security and what that looks like as IT practitioners, not necessarily from the security camp. My name is Blair. I'm a solution engineer here on the BetterCloud team. Really excited to introduce our panel today. I will let them introduce themselves, starting with Daniel. Tell us, obviously, your role, the company you're at, kind of your daily responsibilities, if you will.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Blair. So Daniel McClure, I'm the IT manager at Warby Parker. Something that a lot of people don't know about Warby Parker is that we really kind of run 4 business verticals under one roof. We have a corporate office in New York that functions very similarly to your typical corporate office. We have another office in Nashville that functions primarily as a customer experience center. So anytime anybody has issues with their orders or their glasses, they call in, they chat, SMS to get support, and that team is predominantly out of Nashville. We also have a production facility up in about 90 minutes north of New York City, where lenses are cut, fitted into frames, and shipped to customers. I think they're doing something like 7,000 to 10,000 orders a day, which is pretty cool. And we also have 132 brick and mortar retail stores across North America. So I oversee all of the technology, the endpoints, the SaaS, the internet network connectivity, authentication, provisioning servers for essentially 4 companies under one roof.
You're not busy at all, right? Like not a lot going on.
Yeah, no, scheduling this was super easy.
Randy, let's go with you, sir.
Yeah, so I'm at Classpass. Classpass is an app and a membership that connects you to the world's best workouts and wellness experiences. So we are all over the world with over 30,000 gyms and studios. We've got beauty and wellness experiences that can all be booked through the one account in the app. And wonderfully now, you can also book a lot of top studios near you, live stream classes, have access to some of the world's best trainers, so you can do personal training sessions, or just simply play a workout on demand right at home. Myself here, I'm the IT manager. I've got a very small team and a whole lot of hats I have to wear. I'm sure nobody knows what that's like out there. So, we have to support the company wide. We are a worldwide company with people everywhere in most of our markets. And really for me, it's just about automating the heck out of everything, using every tool we can to do everything we can, and solving what we can worldwide, and being as creative as possible with the few people we have.
I'm assuming as a SaaS provider, from more or less, right? You guys are super cloud focused, super SaaS heavy, like cloud first,
yeah,
cloud only.
Almost completely cloud first. So, yeah, I try and avoid
sense.
anything on-prem if I can.
Aren't we all? Deji, tell us a little about you and your role, sir.
Thank you, Blair. Hi, I'm Deji, solutions architect at Sunrun. Sunrun is the #1 residential solar company. My current role is solutions architect as part of the corporate applications team. We manage all the productivity and security SaaS applications from Okta, G Suite, BetterCloud, up until GCP. So we're a team of 3, and we manage it across the company. We are spread across the country in 50 states.
Amazing. Yeah, so none of us have anything going on. Like, this is super chill, super easy. One of the things that's really, interesting about the new normal, right, and something we're all facing every day is the real big push for IT to own security, right? Whether it's on devices or individual, the user object, or the users themselves, like, we're responsible for that. So in this kind of like digital transformation shift, work from anywhere shift, what are you guys getting, surprised about, specifically looking at like these new security objectives we have to hit or responsibilities we hold?
I think one of the big surprises that hit me was actually how easy it was to go remote. We've been kind of organically making strides to go zero trust, kind of work from anywhere that has an internet connection without a VPN for quite a few years. So that first like big rush to remote was relatively easy. kind of coming off the back end of that, I think it kind of blew open some security concerns around our intrusion detection system, and making sure that the agents on all of our devices were up to date and actively running, working with the operating systems that the computer was running on. While we have like a relatively close like zero touch mechanism for new laptops, we do see some inconsistencies there. So, really making sure that every time a new laptop is turned on, that it's properly enrolled and properly pulling the profiles and policies, as we have, different MDMs that we're supporting as well. We also, and this could be kind of like a timing thing, it certainly wasn't motivated by going remote, but we brought on a SOC very shortly after we went work from home. So we've been working a lot with them to ensure that they have like a baseline for what's normal with a lot of our logs. They're looking at all of our valuable systems, ingesting the logs, putting them into their SIM, and then kind of notifying us on anything that's suspect. So we have seen, we have now a swim lane in our board that is just for security related tasks. So I think those are some of the things that really stuck out to me, back in April, May.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. And it's interesting too, and this is something we talked about before the session, the dynamic that IT and security have, right? And what that relationship looks like, how that relationship has changed because of, kind of where these responsibilities are falling, right? Like, amazing. You guys have a SOC to kind of dictate some of those, vectors that you need to get controlled or whatever to you. But for so long, right? Like, that didn't exist, right? Like, you guys didn't have access to that, and you still had to do those things.
Right, or it was something that was completely owned by the security operations team, and there was no visibility from IT. But now, as IT is kind of wearing multiple hats, kind of to go back to Randy's point, we have, I sit at everyone's table. I sit at the security table and the architect table and the engineer table. So, working together with them, and there are very clear lines of like when this is an IT responsibility and when this is something that's like AppSec or data exfiltration or something like that.
Randy, Deji, anything to add there?
Yeah, well, we hit a lot of the same sort of stuff there, maybe not to the same extreme. We do happen to be, as I said, 99+% cloud-based. So while it's not a magic bullet, there's a lot of the traditional securities I don't have to worry about, which is fabulous. But then what really did surprise me was how much physical security I then have to worry about. And I'm not specifically really meaning just locking down the doors of the offices, which, yes, I suddenly had to be like, how do I keep everybody from going into the offices and dealing with that? It was more about, I've got all these computers now worldwide at home. We do issue laptops, so they're flexible. They can go right home easily. But now all of them are at home. And as we're unfortunately having to deal with some restructuring, I need to get corporate data off those machines. How am I doing this really quickly and effectively? How am I watching for data exfiltration? A lot of that physical security and worry about, well, I can't make sure I get that computer back from somebody in some place outside of Paris, France. How am I going to deal with that? And that really made us jump and have to try and figure out quite a bit around that to just make sure we really had buttoned up everything. Plans that we had for, it will be great, we'll get around to doing this thing sometime, it'll be good to have this ability, became a necessity. And how are we going to do this very quickly, while at the meantime, the whole company is really suddenly pivoting and doing a rapid sprint to completely flip what we're doing, because we are based with studios and wellness partners that all of them had to close overnight. So over 95% of our partners had to close their shop. Basically meant there's no business. So how are we going to support them? How are we going to keep ourselves doing something? How are we going to keep people fit and active in all this time? So they're all concentrating on suddenly building up a live stream on demand product and getting that out there. And I need to take care of all this and support anything I have to there. It was fun.
Fun is one word for it.
Yep, kept me on my toes.
Well, so Deji, going to you, sir, given kind of all this like new split in roles and responsibilities, and now like added responsibilities, right? Like the perimeter is not the same anymore. And so like we might be doing technically the same objectives, but it looks totally different, right? As everyone is all dispersed and whatnot. Have you noticed that change? Like maybe not titles and whatnot within the company, but like roles and responsibilities from a more like, I don't know, managerial level, right? Like the expectations of your job has changed from not just the necessity, but like in the actual organization, right? Like you could turn around and say, yes, now security is part of my actual role, you know, or whatever it happens to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So at Sunrun, we are cloud first. And when it comes, I mean, for us, we take everybody's, it's thought that you are in charge of security. Everybody's role changed, but for my team, our role was more about securing endpoints and all our endpoints, because we are primarily we moved a lot of our team to Chromebooks, which it's easily manageable. So at the end of the day, as we work hand in hand, we work very closely with security team to add controls, to enforce controls into all our devices. Be it the Windows desktop, Chromebooks, phones, tablets, depending on the device, depending on the device, because it can be today we need to add this length of passcode, or we have to add MFA to this. So we work with the everybody, like I said, everybody's in security at Sunrun.
That's amazing. And like, it's good to hear that when it's beyond just like the words, right? When you actually like get to experience that, and it's not just like, oh, it's everybody's responsibility. Like, well, actually though, it kind of is. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about, you know, where we're sitting kind of in this new landscape, right? Getting like a little bit more tactile, and we've talked about a little bit, right? This work from home, work from anywhere. How has that changed your ability, or, you know, your, I don't know, desired state, if you will? How has that affected kind of your ability to have a proper security posture? Like, what struggles are you guys dealing with? Right. We mentioned a little bit like, how do I get laptops from people that are, you know, now outside of Paris, France? Like, I don't have any IT out there. You know, those types of things. You guys hitting anything in particular that you ran into that maybe you solved or haven't solved yet or whatever?
So one of the things that we had to solve was around patch management. And for the Windows folks, for the Chromebooks, it's, you know, cloud goes straight to Google, encrypted and all that.
I love that everyone like dumped on Chromebooks for years, and then we hit this moment, and everyone that had them deployed like hit the ground running. I was just like, ha, suckers. Super jealous. Anyways, continue.
So we had to solve for patching, and we were deploying BigFix to answer to. I mean, before we moved to remote, to solve for that piece, because it wasn't dependent on the Active Directory to get policies, password. So things like that. We had to also work with security to make change around, since we do MFA. For folks, if you change your password on your computer, or you get 90 days, you change your password, it didn't translate to the Active Directory, or it translated, change, if you change your Active, change it Active Directory, but it didn't translate to your computer, so you have to use 2 passwords. So we worked out on a policy around that. So the main one was the patching, and the other one we will solve for was the password one.
Why would it be easy, right? I mean, if it was easy, anybody could do it.
Yeah.
So, Daniel, did you run into anything?
Yeah, plenty. I just really quickly want to call out over 1,500 Chrome OS devices. Love Chrome OS. Wish it was everywhere. Yeah. So I think, you know, the overarching theme for me really was visibility. You know, we're shipping out a lot of devices, and while I think our security policies that we're enforcing on these devices is sufficient, we have run into a few instances where endpoint intrusion detection system like isn't pushing the right version. I kind of brought that up a little bit. It's out of date, wasn't scoped to the correct policy, and this creates a lot of unexpected and manual work from internally on my team. Also, a lot of environmental concerns that are completely out of our control. Network security, working with a wall behind you to prevent any kind of shoulder surfing if you're out and about in public, or with roommates, as a lot of people are in New York. Computers automatically locking, people walking away from their laptop and remembering to lock everything. How are we ensuring people are adhering to like a lot of the written policies that we've pushed out, and we're kind of like assuming that they're, abiding by, acceptable use and security. We also had a large number of people move from, so very early on, we shut down our retail locations, and we had a lot of retail people move into our customer experience team as we were seeing very high increase in our online sales. So we had a large number of people move between that team that required very quick action on my team to deliver, to kind of like support that increase in traffic. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't over provisioning access and ensuring that we're revoking access when they return to their original team. And it's a lot of manual process around that. So we on top of all of this, we don't have a really great way to Randy's point, to track a solution for tracking like what we're expecting back with regards to endpoints, and when it comes to people transitioning and potentially leaving the company. We can surely send like lock commands to all of these devices, but how are we ensuring that data isn't flying off of the machine onto like local storage? I've also become much more sensitive about those internal data transfers and any kind of like intellectual property walking out the door.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. A lot of the issues we've been bringing up, Randy, we'll go to you, kind of get addressed by new tooling, right? And so we just came out, BetterCloud comes out every year with our SaaSOps report, and shocker, spoiler alert, SaaS spend is way, way, way up, right? Like even the projections were headed like astronomically higher, and it's blowing past all those projections, right? So again, looking from solving these IT problems and solving this new work from anywhere problem, have you guys done more spending on various tools, tool sets? Daniel, you obviously were talking about it. Randy, have you guys done any of that kind of stuff internally, or new projects coming down the pipe, I guess?
I mean, if you look at the final number, it might not be exactly more, because we kind of had to go at it both ways. We needed to reduce everything we could, really get right-sized on everything. And I spent a lot of time doing that. But then there were additional tools that I either needed to beef up. Our Slack needed to increase in our abilities within Slack, so that needed to go up. Just adding in anything else, because the one part, Daniel kind of got to some of it too. We did a lot of the same thing. I tried to not be too much the sky is falling, but I really was going through a lot of, oh my God, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? To try and be on top of things. And it, for me, was all about getting as much data as I could, so that way I can then action and really plan which things I'm actually going to act upon, which things are true concerns. Do I have to worry about this? I super lucked out, and my user environment was just incredibly great. I didn't have any big, huge, crazy issues, but I needed to make sure that, for example, BetterCloud was reporting and telling me about data exfiltration from Google Drive, that I was seeing some other concerns about intellectual property, information about internal processes that are changing, or what our major pivot and plan was. We don't want that leaking, so that way we can launch it and let everybody know the big announcement. So really being on top of all of that and looking at every tool I have, making sure I'm getting as much data as possible. And then if I could get something more out of something, assessing whether I need to actually increase the usage and spend more on it. So overall, I might not have had a bigger spend because I was able to reduce a whole bunch of tools and really fine tune them, but there was additional spend on individual tools at least.
No, that totally makes sense. Deji, same thing?
Yes, for us, like I said, we're the cloud first, so we're the adopter, MFA, all those with that. But around the one thing we started pushing was our workspace one, because we had to start pushing endpoint management better, so some policies can just come directly from us to the endpoint. One thing we're looking at spending on was virtual desktop, because we're looking at making Chromebook still default device. So we're looking at virtual desktop. What else? Other than that, we already had all our things. One thing that really helped us around DLP is BetterCloud. We use the DLP functionality there. We use the G Suite one also. And also we use Proofpoint. So we already had that. And that allows, that's on DLP functionality for if, sending emails and it catches a PII or W2 and we can block that. So instead focusing on that.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you look at, and you kind of brought up a good point there, the like SaaSOps framework or marketplace or whatever, and like the Venn diagram of overlap between functionality, right? Like BetterCloud and CASB and Okta and G Suite and identity. And like a lot of these things can do a lot of the same things, but you got to look at it holistically and go, okay, I'm going to handle the DLP in this area or on device, right? Talking Daniel like data exfiltration on device. Okay, that's handled completely differently than SaaS DLP, which is completely different than like my repository DLP, right? Like there's all these different buckets, and even though it's kind of checking off the same buzzwords, like in reality, it's completely different, right? Well, speaking of being completely different, what's one thing that you guys have done or been doing or whatever, or like looking back at kind of this transition that you wish you could have done differently or you would have done differently, kind of knowing where you're at now?
For me, it's about, it's all about the workflows and automation. It's looking back at, well, not even looking back. It was, okay, what can I do? As I said, having that a bit of personal panic, like, oh my God, what if this happens? How do I get this done? We're a smaller team now. We're not in office, so I can't run it as office being the trigger. I now have to have this be everybody's individual machines. Reworking and retooling all of those workflows and kind of having lots of moments of, why didn't I do this from the beginning? And like, oh my God, that's awesome. Why didn't I do that at all? Like hitting a bunch of that was really kind of the, gosh, really wish I was doing this differently. And, I was already a massive fanboy. My rep can tell you, massive fanboy of BetterCloud. And ooh, boy, they timed everything perfect with the addition of some of the templates and everything like that, that just really tied in perfectly. And I just went crazy with everything I could automate the heck out of.
Well, especially in your situation where, your ratio of users to IT people is off the charts, right? Like if you don't automate, you can't get stuff done. There is nobody that you could just like slack and be like, I need help, because the team's not big enough, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And don't tell my boss this, it's probably a bad choice to do, being recorded and live streamed, but I probably could grow to double the size of the company and still maintain the team I have, but don't let them know that.
Oh, we'll just take that out in post. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cut that in post.
In the last final minutes here, Daniel, Deji, anything that you would have done differently or wish you had known going into this whole thing?
Much more attention to automated user lifecycle management. +1 vote on that. Very early on, we actually brought in BetterCloud's managed SKU, and we've been kind of working through integrating that. But we also have a ton of homegrown SaaS apps that apps that don't really hook into our what we consider our central auth. So we're actually investing some time into like real engineering projects to get our HRIS system taking action. So yeah, I would have just given much more attention to automated user lifecycle management.
Hindsight, man. Deji?
I can add to that. +1, onboarding and offboarding. So we expanded on that after. Not just onboarding, offboarding, leave of absence, different, but primarily onboarding and offboarding was big. We had to automate a lot of things to save time for the service desk, transfer of drive, made something automatic. So that was one. That's one that would have saved us time if we'd done it earlier.
Yeah. Shocker, automation saving time. Who'd have thought? All right, gentlemen, last question before we wrap up. We're almost out of time here. So in one sentence or less, what is the biggest project you've got coming down the pike in the rest of 2020, 2021? I mean, planning for anything is kind of just out the window, but as best as you can plan right now, what's the big project coming down?
One of the biggest ones for us is actually, and I've actually now got to go hit up Daniel and chat with him about it and share some of the information I found and what he might have found. But it's really about getting devices back and finding a lot of creative solutions about that whole part. So the automation of things for onboarding, offboarding, there's a lot I can control there and I've really solved for and gotten creative on, but the physical part is quite a challenge still, being worldwide. And what partners can I work with? How can I solve this? Import export is just something I cannot take on right now. So finding creative solutions around that, there's going to be a lot of effort to really find solves there and get that to be super simple, because I need that to be super simple for the end user, not even so much for me. It's got to be great and simple for them. I can't move the onus onto them to suddenly have to do all this extra stuff when everybody's new to this work from home world. And that's just a challenge they can't take on.
I'm going to just jump in there. For us, I think the next milestone is frictionless collaboration and employing Chromebooks to make it the default device. Right now, we have some dependencies on VPN, so we're looking at beyond COP for a lot of things. We've started migrating from legacy because, we had some legacy things. So it's the focus is getting Chromebooks being a default device, and fixing the legacy, the ones that cannot move to the cloud, legacy applications with virtual desktop.
Amazing.
Yeah, my short and skinny of this is continued automated user lifecycle management, within BetterCloud, but also some more like engineering related as well. DLP is a huge topic right now, making sure that our data is safe, not only on the endpoint, but in transit, in rest, and as it's being used. And then we have, just other projects that are going to allow us to really scale with a lot of ease.
I love that. I love that a lot of these projects are probably things that were on the radar before, but everything's accelerated now and everything's top of mind. And kind of like what we were talking about, we all knew we needed onboarding, offboarding automation, and now we need it. We don't just want it.
Right. Yeah. Like, look at this thing that I've been saying was I have the IT crystal ball. Like I told you, this was going to be a problem. And here we are.
You use also, that line in your yearly review. It'll go over well, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah.
And also don't forget, we also have to add in all the user education part of it. We can't so easily just kind of slap some stuff up on the walls and hope they find it in the office and learn about it that way. We now have to really go through trainings and make sure everybody's up to speed on all this new stuff, and at the same time not impeding them getting their work done.
Oh man, we could do a whole session on that alone.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, this is everybody needs to really think about like the user experience when it comes to change management, because if you're not building doors that are easy to operate, you're gonna have a lot of people who are getting locked out.
Yeah, it's like we just said, right? Like issues we've been having for a long time that are now absolutely front of mind. Gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys taking a little bit of time to chat with us about security from the IT perspective and how we're all addressing it. It's nice to hear that we're kind of all having the same issues and tackling the same mountains and whatnot together. So that's helpful. I know each of you are in Better IT, so I look forward to interacting with you guys there. Those of you that are watching, if you haven't joined the Better IT Slack channel, please do so. We're all in there. We all love the community. It's really, really cool. Enjoy the rest of the time at Altitude. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.